Welcome to this explainer. You know that feeling when it's 2 a.m., you're staring at the ceiling, and your brain just decides to spiral completely out of control? Yeah, we've all been there. Today, we're going to break down the exact biological and psychological framework to rewire how your brain processes fear and anxiety. We are literally diving into the architecture of mental control. So think about all those terrifying scenarios keeping you up at night. This year panic about the future, the endless replays of past mistakes. Well, what if I told you that 90%, literally almost all of those scenarios are complete lies? Seriously, they're just elaborate fictions designed by your own brain to keep you trapped in a state of high alert. And look, we're not going to sit here and just tell you to think positive. Because let's be real, when you're in a dark, repetitive spiral, generic advice like that doesn't do a thing. Instead of masking the problem with a fake smile, the research actually gives us real clinical tools to take back the wheel from that negative voice. You are not your thoughts, and today, we're going to prove it. All right, here's our exact roadmap for neutralizing those negative loops. We'll cover the trap in your head, the evolutionary negativity bias, practicing cognitive diffusion, the three-step interrogation, the physical neurological reset, and finally, building daily mental armor. Part 1. The trap in your head. Understanding the survival trap. First off, you really have to understand that your anxiety is not a personal failure. We need to look at exactly why your mind defaults to worst-case scenarios when, you're just trying to get some sleep or finish your work. It turns out this is a built-in evolutionary mechanism called the negativity bias. Thousands of years ago, the ancestors who assumed every rustle in the bushes was a deadly predator, well, they survived. The optimists didn't. Your brain is hardwired for survival, not happiness. So today, it treats an unanswered text exactly like a saber-toothed tiger. Part 2. The evolutionary negativity bias, the biological illusion. And here's where it gets crazy. This psychological quirk builds into a very real physical problem. Why? Because your brain literally cannot tell the difference between a real physical threat and a purely imaginary one. When you loop a negative thought, your body goes into overdrive. It pumps out cortisol and adrenaline, instantly activating your fight or flight mode. You aren't just thinking about the anxiety, your body is physically experiencing it through a massive flood of stress hormones. You're gearing up for a fight that is only happening in your imagination. Part 3. Practicing cognitive diffusion, detaching from the loop. So how do we actually hit the brakes on this cycle? Our first major defense mechanism is a clinical tool that requires us to stop fusing with our thoughts. You have to detach your core identity from the noise echoing in your head. When you tell yourself, I am a failure, that's fusion. Instead, we use cognitive diffusion to take a step back and say, I am having the thought that I am a failure. By simply adding those few words, you completely reframe it. You label the feeling and you just observe it as data, without feeding it your emotional energy. Think of your mind like a super busy highway. Those toxic thoughts, they're just cars driving by. They are not you. But right now, every time a dark, anxious car drives past, you're jumping right into the passenger seat and letting it drive you off a cliff. Next time, just stand on the side of the road, say, there goes my anxiety car again, and watch it pass. When you don't feed it, it starves. Part 4. The three-step interrogation, cross-examining your own mind. But, sometimes just watching the cars isn't quite enough. Sometimes that negative loop is incredibly strong and you have to actively cross-examine it like a hostile witness in a courtroom. Make no mistake, your anxious mind is very often a massive liar. It projects false futures and worst-case scenarios that have zero basis in reality. And because it's lying to you, you've got to expose it immediately. So here is the exact protocol to expose that liar. Step 1. Ask yourself, is this thought 100% factually true right now? Usually, it's just an assumption. Step 2. Is this thought useful to me, or is it just paralyzing me? If it's not useful, it's garbage data. Throw it out. And step 3, what is the exact opposite positive possibility? If your mind is screaming that you're going to fail, force it to answer, well, what if I actually succeed? By rapidly running through these 3 steps, you reject the garbage and force your brain to visualize a positive alternative, which instantly shatters that negative loop. Part 5. The physical neurological resets, overriding the biology. Okay, but what if you're already spiraling? What if your heart is racing, your palms are sweating, and your physiology is already locked into that high-stress state? Listen closely. You absolutely cannot fix a chaotic mind with a chaotic body. Trying to logically argue with your brain when adrenaline is pumping is a losing battle. To kill the negative thought at this stage, you have to completely override your biology to signal to your brain that you're safe. Enter the 5-minute neuro reset. First, you instantly change your physical state. Stand up, step outside, walk fast for 2 minutes. This physical shift immediately breaks your neurological focus. Then, we use the 4-7-8 breathing method. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it for 7, and exhale completely out of your mouth for 8 seconds. Do this 4 times. By executing this perfectly, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system. This literally forces your heart rate down. You're sending a biological all-clear signal to your brain, and that anxiety loop just starves because your body is finally relaxed.
Part 6. Building daily mental armor. Guarding your morning inputs.
At the end of the day, true mental control isn't just about playing defense when things get bad. It's about building a proactive, impenetrable fortress every single day. And that fortress? It's built in the morning. What you feed your mind during the very first 30 minutes after waking up completely determines the quality of your thoughts for the entire day. If you wake up and instantly doom scroll social media or dive into stressful news, you are priming your brain to look for threats. You are basically begging for negativity. Instead, you've got to guard your inputs rigorously. Feed your mind with philosophy, read some psychology, focus on skill building, seek out clarity. You have to actively load your brain with high-quality, empowering data before the rest of the world even gets a chance to inject its chaos into your head. Because here's the absolute truth. That voice in your head is not your master. It's merely a tool. And as we wrap up this explainer, you now have the exact framework to take control of that tool rather than letting it control you. So as you step back into your day equipped with this new mental armor, I want to leave you with one final question to ask yourself. Who is driving your mind today?